How's it going?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you at least 18?
Definitely.
All right. Well, what can I do for you?
I'm assuming you want ops. Am I fair?
I mean, will talk to anyone, but I'm happy to to go back and forth. Sure.
Okay. So, do you like if Christianity was true, would you want to be with God?
So, I wish that that was a simple statement, but because Christianity is so diverse, when you say like if Christianity is true, which version of Christianity?
Like Orthodox Christianity. Like,
Ooh,
I don't know, I'm
okay.
not sure how else to say it, but like,
Like the like Orthodox, like that branch of Christianity.
just traditional Christianity, like
There's
from the
no
early, from like Jesus till Constantine, that type of Christianity where Jesus is God, unalive for us, went to the tomb, rose from the dead. Put your faith in him, you get to be with God. Sins are
Okay.
placed on Jesus.
Well, so yeah, I mean, Jesus said that, you still have to follow the entire law of Moses. And I would have a problem with that.
So your answer would be no.
If we're just going by like what Jesus said, I could not follow that because I would not follow the law of Moses.
And when Jesus says that like the new covenant is in his blood, like what do you think that means?
I think he explicitly said that he will not wipe away a letter of the law and that those who follow the entire law will be most greatest in the kingdom of heaven, that you're not supposed to take away any of it.
Okay, so you like so when he says I have ushered like in my blood will be a new covenant. Do you think that means something different than the old covenant?
I I don't think it is saying like he would be directly contradicting himself if that phrase meant don't follow the law of Moses.
So you think that Jesus was like follow the law of Moses, do everything in the Levitical code, Deuteronomy. That is what I came to do, just to usher in the old covenant over again.
I didn't say that's what he came to do. That is what he told people to do. He very explicitly said, you need to follow this. And like he even added to it.
He added. How did he add to it?
So he said, you have heard that, don't
Sermon on the
commit
Mount.
adultery, but I tell you that if you have lust for someone in your heart, that's just as bad.
So do you like? So that Jesus that said like, "Hey, the Samaritan woman, like these people that the story of the Good Samaritan, um, this idea of there is no difference between like that's more Paul, but like the idea of love the least of these as your neighbor. What you do for the least of these, you do for me. You don't like that, or do you like that those parts, but not the other parts?
Yeah, that part's good. I mean, I'm good with most of the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes. So I'm
Because
good with that.
it seems like Jesus was like cool with like overriding the dietary laws in Mark. He talks about breaking the Sabbath in Matthew. Like he talks about how divorce was not something God wanted, but they allowed it. But I've come for something better. It seems like Jesus is alluding to like, hey, the old covenant was like not exactly what God wanted, and I'm ushering a new covenant. And that's what like the whole Christian message was is like Jesus is the beginning of something different, something new, the full like revelation of God essentially defined out in a different moral code than we
I
see in the
mean,
Old Testament. So like
you'd
I
have
just have a
to
trouble saying like
ignore,
that
like,
seems like a bad thing.
I'm saying you would have to ignore chunks of what Jesus said to come to that conclusion.
I guess maybe give me like an example of what you're talking about.
When Jesus said, I have not come to take away a single stroke of a letter of the law, and then
But
he
to
went on.
fulfill it.
And then he went on to say, so those who follow the law will be greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
But like, what does he say the law is? Like when they ask him, like, what is the law all about? And he
That
says to
is the
love God and
Levitical
to
law.
love
No,
others,
that's
right?
the Levitical law. Yeah.
But what does he say like the whole point of the law was?
That's actually not, I mean, he's saying you have to follow it.
But he doesn't follow it himself.
Yeah, he's kind of a contradictory character.
Okay. All right. So that God you would not want to be with.
Like, I think Jesus would be really interesting to hang out with. But again,
If you, I guess my point
believe,
is,
like,
if you
you
don't want to
believe
be
that
with God,
Jesus, you believe that Jesus and the God of the Old Testament are the same, unless you think it's two totally different gods.
I'm just saying that Jesus seemed to expound upon the law and say, "Hey, I'm ushering a new covenant." Like that's
So do
seems to be
you?
like his main goal is to say, "Hey, you thought the law was this, but really the morality is this. Like it's to treat everybody equally." Like his own
So
brother said, "Hey, treat
well,
the
he
you're
doesn't. He doesn't
rich."
quite treat everybody equally. But the point is, do you believe that Jesus and Yahweh are the same?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think Jesus himself made it quite clear that he is equal to God.
Is God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
you don't want to be with that God, right?
I don't want to be with the God that wrote the Levitical laws.
Okay. So you don't want to be with the Christian God, right?
The God that wrote the Levitical laws, correct. I do not.
Yes. So when I think a Second Thessalonians talk about separation from God is essentially what hell is. You don't want to be with God. If God is a good and loving God, he would honor your request, right?
Well, the Bible doesn't just say that hell is separation from God. The Bible says a lot of different things about hell.
Yeah, but
And
like he says, they
so,
will be punished with everlasting destruction, shut out from the presence of the Lord. And
right.
Jesus himself says, "I never knew you. Away from me, depart from me." So like it seems like they're making a is essentially just you separated from God, right? You know, it
Well,
doesn't seem like it's a good place, but like you don't want to be with God. God would be completely just to say, "Hey, you don't want to
no,
be with me. I'm going to give you your free will, and you can be separated from me forever."
no. So if my only two options are to serve and worship a God that treats people badly or suffer forever, if those are my only two options, that is not a good God to have set that system up in the first place. Like, if you say,
But
I want you to,
would God be a good God to make you be with Him?
God was a bad God if the only
Yeah, I get
two
you believe that.
options.
I'm just saying, would I
So,
get that? I'm just saying, would God
okay,
be a good
we
God if He made you be with Him?
again, if there are only two options, God is bad, not good.
Okay, I totally get what you think you're saying. I'm just
I
saying, in
don't
your
think you do
worldview,
because you wouldn't keep going
why
down
would
this
you want to be
line.
with a God that evil, right?
I'm not saying I do.
I
I
I,
am
I get
saying,
that.
okay, then don't keep asking me if, well,
Hmm.
isn't God just for not like
Making
making
you be with
you?
Him.
No,
Like,
that's
would I want Allah to make me be with Him? I would not want to be with Allah. I would not want to be with, like, to me, that's a
so
pretty
wait,
simple
wait, wait, let's
question.
go with that. So if your
Okay,
only
sounds
two
good.
choices in life, this is it. You can only be with Allah or you can suffer eternally.
Deuces. See you later, Allah.
Okay.
Easy peasy.
So but you're
That's not a
okay
hard
with
question at
suffering.
all. That's not
Can
a
you
hard
let me
question at all.
finish? Like hang on. So what you're saying
Good.
is
Sorry.
you're good with eternal torment. That's fine. You're okay
Yes. If
with
it's
it.
not to be with a God, if it's a God that I think is actually evil, I would prefer torment over being with a God that's evil. That's
Okay,
to me is a no brainer.
great. And so we agree then that this is only a situation that an evil God would create, where it's
No,
choose
no,
you
I'm
or
not granting
suffer.
that. I'm not under your worldview. I'm saying that's A very easy decision.
Okay.
So I just don't get what I'm guessing is I don't get why you don't like the Christian God. You think the Christian God's evil, or assuming some part of him evil.
I
I'm not
don't
sure.
think he's real.
Jesus is a
Wait, wait,
hypocrite.
wait, stop.
Yeah,
Hold
I
on.
totally get
No,
that.
stop. I don't think he's real.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you're muted. You'll have to unmute yourself.
My
There
apologies.
you
I
go.
didn't know I got muted. Sorry. All I'm trying to say is if
I know what you're
IF
trying to say.
conditional, if God is the Christian God is real, you would not want to be with him, right? It's a simple
I
question.
got it. Like, dude, I got it. Like, you keep
Just
trying
say
to
no.
make this point.
Just say no.
Yeah, no, I already said no.
Okay, would that
times.
God not be a just God for not making you be with him?
No, he's still not just. No.
All right. I guess I just don't see. Your
you
beef
don't.
is that Christian God
Okay, I'll
is a horrible
explain it to
God, but you want him. But you want him to make him be with you.
Sir, I don't want to go to heaven.
Exactly. So God
I
would.
know. Okay, I don't want to go to heaven, but your God is unjust for creating hell. He could have created a neutral place. He could have created 1,000 different places.
So what would you want instead of heaven?
So
if you want to be away from God?
I'm still not done. You're gonna have to wait.
My bad. Good.
It is unjust for God to only create 2 conditions. That is my problem here. The only 2 conditions are love me or suffer forever. That is a bad system.
This is what I think, and you're free to disagree, but I think that like hell is essentially separation from God. You get to be your own God. This is essentially what the Christian doctrine is you don't accept God as God. You want to be your own God. You'll never, ever be satisfied. You'll never choose God. So you will forever be lacking. You will always be searching, seeking, always be miserable because you'll never make yourself happy. You'll always be miserable.
So sorry. I'm going to have to stop you there. This
you're
idea that I am unsatisfied and miserable. This is something that Christians tell other Christians about non-Christians, and it isn't true. This idea that you think that because I don't believe in your God, that I must be miserable, that I have a God-shaped hole in my heart. It isn't true.
I get you believe that. I'm just saying from my perspective, if I'm right,
you don't know me.
I'm right. No, I'm just saying.
No, your assumption that all non-Christians are actually miserable.
I didn't say that.
That's what you were describing hell as.
I'm saying
you were saying that everyone who didn't pick your God is never going to be satisfied. They're going to be their own God, and they're going to be miserable.
Yeah, essentially, you're rejecting it. This is a big. I think you're missing this. If Christianity is true, you deny that. If Christianity is true, you think you are your own God. You're rejecting the God of the Bible. You're rejecting Jesus Christ.
You are conflating 2 things.
So you think you know what I believe. You think you know what I believe. Okay.
You made a statement about me.
I said if Christianity is true.
No.
I'm talking about my worldview.
Dude, stop. I said, you said that if I reject your God, I am making myself into my own God. That is not correct. So you are.
Your mods are quick with the mute. Who would God be in your world then?
There is no God.
Who do you think the ultimate?
There is no. Wait, guys, hang on. You got to let him talk.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Who do you think the ultimate authority is?
There is no ultimate authority.
Okay, so would you be the ultimate authority?
No.
In your life?
No.
So in your life, do you think you're the arbiter of what's right?
No.
Who's the arbiter of like what to do, what's right, what's good, bad?
So I make choices, but I don't think I am a God or an authority. Like
you seem to think you're authority right now. You're telling me what's it wrong or bad about hell, right?
Oh my
Right?
God. No, sir. I am
Okay. You seem like
explaining.
you've been streaming along a lot of thoughts about what you think is the way things should be, right?
You think that that makes me like I don't
An
see the
authority,
connection
the way you
between.
think things should be. Yeah.
I'm not telling you what you have to do or
I'm
what
not
you
saying
should
you
do.
are. I'm just saying in your worldview, you ultimately, your subjective brain is the arbiter of what is moral and what's not, how things should be, what's not, right?
I hate to break it to you, man, but that the same goes for every human being, including you.
If I believe that God is the ultimate arbiter, that Jesus is the ultimate arbiter, and I submit to him, do you think
Hmm.
I'm doing the same thing you are?
Yes.
How so?
Well, all you were presenting is the fact that I have a subjective brain and I am basically the authority on my perspective and my experience. And that is the same for every human being.
I think you're right to a point. Like I subjectively think that Jesus did unalive and come back from the dead, and that's why I'm a Christian. But I think I believe that because of it's objectively true, and I think that I am placing essentially my confidence in that as being objectively true, and I'm submitting to what I believe is the actual objective truth that God is the ultimate arbiter of morality and all those things. If that is not true, then if that wasn't true, I would say my consciousness, my subjective experience is ultimately, it has to be the arbiter of what's moral and what's not, right?
So, what you're doing is both you and I are using our brains and we are trying to figure out what's true.
I agree.
And we are using our experiences, we are using our intellect, our community, our logic and reason to try to figure out what is real. And so you are doing the same process that I am doing. And you came to the belief that there is a God, and I came to the belief that there is not. But neither one of us is being our own God by going through that process of trying to figure out what's real.
Okay. Do you think that we can? So you're saying essentially we subjectively came to different conclusions, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that like I'm sure you've seen people on here say like the Earth is flat. They subjectively think the Earth is flat, right?
Hmm.
Would you say they're objectively wrong?
Hmm.
So even though we subjectively came to two different conclusions, one of us clearly is right and one of us is clearly wrong, right?
Hmm.
So like to me in my world, I would say wherever the evidence leads, we should just believe that. And that's why I became a Christian or a theist and then a Christian. I used to be an
Hmm.
atheist. Assuming you used to probably be a Christian, right?
I did, yeah, for a long
Okay.
time.
I feel like almost everybody I talk to on TikTok that are do these lives used to come from probably a fundamentalist background and then walked away. Is that fair for you?
I don't know that I would say fundamentalist, and I didn't walk away. Through a long time stopped believing it was true, but it was not a choice. That
Hmm.
lack of belief was something that happened to me.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I think the same thing for me. I used to think God Christians were absolutely the dumbest people in the world, and then I eventually became a theist, and then eventually became a Christian. I don't know how that process actually happened, but I think just looking at the evidence, I believe as objectively as I can, and you're just free to disagree with it. I became a Christian. I do, however, think one of us is obviously right. One of us is obviously wrong because things can't contradict. And so I'm not sure where I was going with all that, but I I just do think that like if there is not a necessary, and I mean necessary in the fact that like it has to be the case of morals being grounded in God, then you have to be essentially the arbiter or the moral source of what is good and wrong
So the problem
subjectively.
with your morals coming from God and God's rules is that your morals are grounded in obedience?
I don't think so. So like I will say that I think that God is morally perfect because I believe in objective moral standards. I know you probably disagree. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think God in the Bible has objective moral
Totally
standards.
fair. I'm not asking that question. Do you
Okay.
believe that there is objective morality at all?
Mm. Do I? Oh no, I don't think it's ever objective.
So like you seem to really think that the God of the Bible is immoral, right?
He does things that violate my moral code.
Okay, like give me an example.
Um, Having a law that if women don't bleed on their wedding night, they get stoned.
Okay, so would you say that if you go back in ancient Israel 3,000 years ago, and a woman is actually stoned for that, would you say they're wrong?
I think it's wrong. I cannot say it's objectively wrong.
If you were to go back to any time period in any culture and a woman would get actually stoned to death for bleeding, in that
Well,
scenario, would you say that is objectively, or in your opinion, that's wrong?
in my opinion, it's wrong.
No matter when, no matter where, no matter what. Does not matter what the culture says, what the time period, anything. You're
So
saying
I,
it's
I,
always
I
wrong.
want to be clear here. What I think is wrong is that these women are being stoned for not bleeding on their wedding night. And that means that they are being stoned because it is assumed that they are not a virgin. It's particularly unjust because many women don't bleed their first time. And so this law is particularly terrible because it is punishing women for something that they didn't even do.
I see where you're coming from. I guess the question I'm asking is, let's pretend that law was universal for all time in the history all the way till now. Would you say no matter what, that is always like that essentially is always wrong, no matter when, where, or
I
what?
think it is always wrong to punish someone for something they didn't do.
Okay, so that's great. So if you is there any circumstance in which that thing you just said could be violated
Could be violated? What do you
or
mean?
is not does not hold true?
Not that I can think of. I don't know.
So you're essentially saying you believe it's objectively immoral to
No.
harm. I mean, I hate to
No,
say
no,
it, but like
no,
if
it's
you
consistent. When you're saying objective, most of the time when Christians have this conversation, what they are trying to say is that there's some transcendental law that exists outside of human brains that we're tapping into. I don't think that is the case.
well,
I
can I
think
can
it
I
is,
show you why I disagree with you?
you're going to prove to me that there's a transcendent objective law?
I don't know why I got muted for that one. I'm gonna attempt to show you why I think you're wrong. So like you made a statement that this proposition, this sentence, it's wrong, or in your opinion, it's wrong to harm someone for something they didn't do, is always true, no matter what, no matter when. I mean, that is the
Wait, before
definition
you
of
do that,
objective.
you and I need to agree on what objective means.
Sure,
So our I don't think because something is consistent means it's objective.
it needs to be consistent to be objective, right?
Sure, but just because it's consistent doesn't mean it's objective. So
Okay, I
if
would
the
say it's a
only
good
thing
marker
you
for objectivity,
if
right?
the only thing you can demonstrate is that it's consistent, you have not demonstrated that it's
I
objective.
guess give me an example of something that's consistent that's not objective.
Morals.
Besides that,
So like um a
because I think the sun
moral,
is the Earth is round. It's
something being
consistent.
objective,
It's
like in
objectively true,
this,
right?
something being objective in this context would mean that it is it is somehow existing outside of our brains.
Do you think the Earth is round?
So you're going to have to demonstrate that this moral is some kind of law that exists
Well,
outside of our brain.
I'll try to work my way there. Do you think the Earth is
Well,
round?
But no, I just want to be clear. If the only thing you're going to do is demonstrate that it's consistent to me, and only consistent to me, not even consistent to other people, you're not going to demonstrate the
Sure,
point.
I will try not to do that. Do you think the
Should
Earth is round?
move on to something else.
Do you think the Earth is round?
Yes.
If you were to go to if someone were to go to you and say, "I think the Earth is flat," would you say they're objectively wrong?
Yes.
Okay. If I were to say 1 = 1, do you think I'm objectively right?
Yes.
If you were to go back 20 years ago to Alabama and someone would say 1 = -infinity, would you say that they're wrong?
Can you get to the point?
I promise I'm getting there. Would you say they're objectively wrong?
Like, there are objective true things.
Okay. Would you say it's objectively true that 1 = 1?
Dude, can you I've answered the
I would
question.
really love your answer to this question.
I
Do you
already
think
said
this is
yes.
very simple? If your
Bro,
daughter,
I already said
my
yes.
daughter is 4 years
I'm
old, if she
agreeing.
said,
Okay.
"Does 1 = 1 true,
rude
Dad?"
now.
Would you say
You're
yes or
being
no?
rude now.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right, I guess he got dropped. Okay. Well, I think where we were going was he was going to say things were objectively true, and yeah. Okay.